Well, welcome back to another edition of More Bad News, brought to you as always by Camel Cigarettes. You know, you only have one life to live, and you'll never forgive yourself if you don't take this challenge. Smoke Camels for 30 days and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. Well, my friends, it's been another week of very bad news. Last week, Consumer Reports found that dangerous levels of heavy metals in chocolate from 28 popular brands that they tested. My favorite chocolates are laced with cadmium and lead. The brand that I regularly eat has 120% of the minimum allowable daily dose of cadmium. Cadmium is not like great for you. Lead and cadmium, there's no minimum amount that's going to be good for you. But the state of California has at least a minimum that's allowable in any kind of thing that human beings are going to consume. The federal government doesn't have any of that. They don't really care how much lead or cadmium you eat. And at my age, I'm probably a walking toxic waste dump anyway. I have enough cadmium in me to charge a pack of batteries, but it was disturbing anyway. And even more disturbing is the fact that the Amazon, my chocolate comes from the Amazon, and Science Magazine this week. Once again, I like to get my bad news from Science Magazine. Amazon lost. According to science, the rates of anthropogenic degradation are proceeding up to hundreds to thousands of times faster than other natural climatic and geological phenomena. These anthropogenic changes reach the scale of millions of square kilometers within just decades, as compared to millions or to tens of millions of years for evolutionary climatic and geological processes. The main drivers of Amazonian habitat destruction and degradation are land use changes. They're burning the trees to clear land, wildfires, soil erosion, water use changes. They're damming up rivers, fragmenting rivers, and they're also mining and causing the rivers to be filled with heavy metals. And then there's aridification that is caused by drought from climate change. Additional important threats come from overhunting and overfishing and the introduction of invasive species. I mean, we're doing everything we can to utterly destroy the Amazon, and we have done a marvelous job. We are there, folks. The Amazon is lost. The Amazon is now perched to transition rapidly from a largely forested area to a largely non-forested landscape. Imagine, it's ready to this is very much like the coral reefs in our oceans. They are transitioning to completely dead areas, and the coral reefs and the Amazon rainforest and the rainforests of the globe are where we have our most diverse species habitats, and they are both completely dying. There's no hope for them. So the Amazon is now perched to transition rapidly from a largely forested to a largely non-forested landscape. The changes are happening much too rapidly for Amazonian species, people, ecosystems to respond adaptively. Policies to prevent the worst outcomes are known and must be enacted immediately. We need political will and leadership to act on this information. To fail the Amazon is to fail the biosphere. We fail to act at our own peril. Well, there you have it, folks. All we need is political will and leadership, and we will, as my father said, we live in hope. So, well, this week, we're in the midst of the American Revolution, and I came across a 2019 essay in Haaretz. There's one thing that's really wonderful about this newspaper, Haaretz, is that they often have 15,000 word essays, and this was one of them, and it was on bullshit, and it was based on a 2005 book by the philosopher Harry Frankfurt. Now, according to Frankfurt, bullshit is qualitatively different from lying. The liar knows the truth, and he is concealing it. The bullshitter, on the other hand, and I have had intimate contact with bullshitting. My oldest brother, Marty, may he rest in peace. I loved him desperately. He was psychotic, homeless, and he imagined all kinds of things. He had no real contact with reality. So he came. He used to come and visit every once in a while. He was a trucker, and so I was in St. Louis, and I came home, and there's a 16-wheeler in front of my house, and oh, Marty's here, you know. And we were having trouble with our neighbors, and and Marty said, "Oh, I'll take care of it. I'll contact the Hell's Angels, and I'll get them in there, or I'll go to the mayor, or I'll go to the governor. I know them both, you know." And it's like he just, and it wasn't like he was lying. It was like he really didn't know the difference between reality and unreality, and so you get that feeling from a lot of these QAnon people, who say, Donald Trump is president of the United States right now. He is president of the United States. He's in charge of the military, and he's going to do it. And they're going to all throw them into Guantanamo anytime now. It's just like extraordinary divorce, being extraordinarily divorced from reality. So bullshit is a form of speech in which the speaker no longer cares either about the truth or the appearance of telling the truth. Bullshit is really beyond the worries of truth, historicity, facts, and methods. Hannah Arendt has argued that truth is coercive. Claims such as the earth revolves around the sun or gravity tends to pull things towards the earth are beyond agreement, opinion, discussion, or even consent. Truth has a despotic character. The view that truth is something that imposes itself on us has been challenged by claims that all truth is relative to the values and viewpoints of the person proffering them. And if all truth is relative, there is no reason to privilege one truth over another. One of the main drivers of bullshit is the numerous social media platforms that have developed. And one of the great products of bullshit are conspiracy theories. On the American side, now what I want to do is take a look. So this week, I want to take a look at the American Revolution and this idea that on both sides of the Atlantic, there were these conspiracy theories that were prevalent and were driving the two sides towards violence. On the American side, the patriots were convinced that the British were out to reduce the colonists, as George Washington said, if we do not resist. And he was defending the idea of the boycott early on. I think it was 1764. He said, if we do not resist, we will be reduced to abject slaves like the Negroes over whom we exercise such arbitrary sway. That's a quote. George Washington said, the British are out to reduce us to slaves like the Negroes over whom we rule with such arbitrary sway. He understood what it meant to be a slave. And he understood that the British were out to do this to us. They were going to reduce us to slavery. I don't know if you're aware. So after the defeat of the French, Quebec fell under the British control. So to ensure a quiet transition to British rule, Parliament passed the Quebec Act in 1774, which allowed the French Canadians to practice their own religion and to maintain the Napoleonic legal system. I don't know whether you're aware of the difference between the Napoleonic legal system and the American legal system, but in the Napoleonic legal system, you're guilty until proven innocent, and it made a huge difference, in Canada, because I had controversies up there with J. Philip Rushton, in which I was calling him a racist. And in Canada, if you are sued for libel, you have to prove that you have not libeled the person. In America, the person who has to prove that you lied with reckless disregard for the truth in order to, harm them. So it's much harder to prove libel in the United States than in Canada. And I found that out after going to Canada and calling Rushton a racist. At any rate, but the colonists circulated the bullshit that Parliament was out to spread Catholicism and tyranny. So completely ridiculous. And the Stamp Act was passed in 1764. Riots broke out, okay? And one such incident recorded on the PBS series Liberty, one of the king's stamp collectors, a man named Malcolm, was stripped naked on the coldest day of the winter, covered in hot tar, and then sprinkled liberally with feathers. He was dragged through the streets and beaten. He died in agony after several days of suffering. In Parliament, it was believed that there were terrorists in the colonies assaulting government agents. After all, how would our government respond if IRS agents were stripped naked and covered with tar and feathers? After all, the majority of the colonists were loyal to the crown. The patriots represented a distinct minority of the colonial population. When you hear about the committees of public safety, like the one that arrested William Franklin, the royal governor of New Jersey, and threw him in a dungeon, uh, they were self-appointed revolutionary agents who in no way represented the majority or any real legal authority. So the patriots thought that the British were out to undermine our liberties and turn us into slaves, while the British thought that a small group of terrorists were out to foment revolution. Neither was true. The American patriots were not out to foment revolution. They didn't want to foment a revolution. They wanted the British to pay attention to their grievances. Neither side had any real understanding of the other. Well, folks, I think that's where we'll leave it this week. And it's enough truth for one week. Till next week, take the Camels Challenge. Smoke camels for 30 days and see for yourself what a difference camels can make in your life.